Program Director, Excellencies, Ministers of Energy from other countries, Somali, Gambia, Senegal, and even those that we have not met yet. Senior government officials who have been sent to this conference by their respective countries, chairpersons and chief executive officers of various companies that are here, representative of investors in oil and gas, honored guests, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to add my voice in welcoming you to our beautiful country, albeit a day later, and I'm doing this on behalf of His Excellency, the President of the Republic, President Matamela Cyril Ramaphosa, the government and the people of South Africa. You're all welcome, feel free, enjoy our warmth, enjoy our generosity, interact with our people. I'm honored among many of my colleagues, fellow ministers responsible for energy, petroleum and mineral resources, as well as other dignitaries, were all delighted that state-owned energy companies, as well as private sector players in the energy sector, continue to derive value from the conference. Let me give you an idea. You know, 3 days ago or 2 days ago, I was addressing Wind Indaba, which is about energy, it's about generation. And my own view is that it will work better for the continent, our efforts in energy generation. Rather than having wind, have oil, have coal, have that, we pull them together, because it is this fragmentation that creates unhealthy competition among these technologies, and almost see one another as enemies rather than seeing themselves as complementary to one another in ensuring that there is security of energy supply in our respective countries. Because it is not this technology or that technology, it is the security of supply that is important for our countries. We must remind ourselves of the task that faces us on our continent. Over 500 million of our people in the continent do not have access to modern forms of energy. We remain the most energy deficient continent, and wind pollution afflicts many. Resolving Africa's energy challenges should therefore be the main outcome of these meetings. With policymakers, investors, and key service providers gathered here, we can make tangible strides in achieving that outcome. I'm making this point because when I go to my village home, I always find our people still having wood, coal, gas bottles as source of energy in 2019. And that is prevalent in the continent. And as we get together, talk about resources, about investment, we must also work very hard in resolving that reality. This conference takes place amid some challenging geopolitical developments. On the one side is an ongoing trade war between USA and China. And I can tell you that these are two biggest global economies, and that has adverse consequences on our currencies and commodity prices. So it looks very far, but it impacts heavily on us. And the problem of the world is that weaker economies are actually overwhelmed by developments on stronger economies. And in that way, we end up being just the voice of the master. On the other hand, the ongoing tensions in the Middle East, evidenced by the recent attack on Saudi Arabian oil facilities and the Turkish attack on Syria. All those wars look very far from us, but they impact on us. These attacks have had a temporary impact on global petroleum prices, including South Africa. The danger of escalated tensions could see a sustained negative impact on our economies. South Africa recognizes energy and mineral resources sectors as catalysts in the economic growth. You see that mineral energy industrial complex is quite critical for the performance of the economy. We've witnessed how the adverse impact of high cost and reliable supply of energy have on the productive sectors of the economy. I can tell you that in our country in the first quarter, we registered a negative growth of 3.2%, and in the main, that was attributable to load shedding, which means we don't have sufficient base load. It was attributed to high prices of electricity and instability of labor in the sector. And once those issues were addressed and there was relative stability, the following way we cancelled that negative growth by a positive growth of 3.1. And I can assure you that this sector is quite important. It must not see itself in isolation. It must see itself as part of an effort that is catalyst to the economic growth. Now, in this regard, we believe that lowering cost of energy should be a major area of focus in order to enable the growth of extractive and manufacturing sectors. Resource extractions require vast amounts of energy. Consequently, when electricity costs are high, sustaining investment in resource extraction becomes a challenge. I'm making this point to show that don't see energy in isolation from others, because it is a catalyst to other sectors of the economy. It is not an economic sector to itself. It is an economic sector that is relevant to many other sectors of the economy. And it must be proud to take that role and be a catalyst. Now, having said that, yesterday we tabled the Integrated Resource Plan to the Cabinet Committee. It has gone through. It is left with one head of the Cabinet next week Wednesday. So once we have the IRP in place, I can assure the investors that we are providing policy and regulatory certainty that investors much need. So by Wednesday next week, I'm very hopeful that the IRP will go through, will gazette it, and investors can be rest assured that this is the direction we're working, this is our policy framework, and that policy and regulatory certainty is important for investors, because investors want to know when they invest what are the likely risks and what are the opportunities, and the IRP reassures you of that framework. Relevant to this conference, the IRP makes provision for gas to power projects. We've already announced that a Guga Special Economic Zone will be the site for the LNG terminal. We're quite interested in that, and investors must take interest there. We'll facilitate your investment in that liquid to gas project. Come to the fore, we're ready for you, talk to us. And the site will lay a foundation for new gas to power plants. It will also be a point of converting existing power plants from diesel to gas. We further intend to use the location as a base for importing feedstock for the GTL refinery in Mosul, that is Petro SA. The point we're making is that this ambitious project for us will be a game changer. Those who are quick enough to take the opportunity will actually benefit from that development. It is quite interesting to us because we need to get into gas big way. We're discovering gas everywhere we go. Inland, we've discovered one in MLO, Amersfoort area. We've discovered gas in the Free State. We've got the Karoo Basin, shale gas, and therefore prospects of big gas sector in South Africa are real. And the discovery by Total in the deep seas is also pointing to the prospects of growing the gas sector. So investors to come to the fore. Linked to this is the amendment of the Gas Act, which will be going to Cabinet very soon. We are convinced about the importance of energy carriers in our energy mix. Africa is endowed with fossil fuel which we cannot abruptly stop using. We are not consumed by denialism when it comes to challenges of climate change. We subscribe to the approach of a just transition towards cleaner forms of energy. That just transition, in our view, includes, among others, investment in cleaner coal technologies. In this regard, we have engaged the key role players to support research in cleaner coal technology. Also important in this transition is the greater focus on efficient use of energy. So we have been trying very hard, I think we're succeeding, to avoid the polemical debate of renewables versus coal. And we say it is not this versus that, it is a mix of technologies in the economy that will ensure security of supply of energy to the economy. And I'm quite interested to share experiences with my counterparts in various countries in the continent, what the approach is so that we can complement one another. On the upstream, I announced earlier this year that we intend separating petroleum resource regulation from Mineral Petroleum Resource Development Act. To this end, we'll soon be tabling a petroleum resource development bill before Cabinet. And then it will be subject to parliamentary processes. Our view is that if you can develop the energy sector, the petroleum sector, as a standalone factor, it will perform much better than being an appendage of mining. Because as a miner myself, I know that if you put liquids with water, water will sink the liquids. So we want to separate the two, allow the petroleum sector to be a standalone, grow, be optimal. On the regional front, we note with great interest and sense of admiration the major gas finds in the eastern part of the continent, especially Mozambique and Tanzania. We are a neighbor. We see ourselves as a potential beneficiary to those gas finds. We are aware that one of the oil companies in South Africa played a pivotal role in the monetization of the earlier gas finds in Mozambique. We remain ready to contribute to the development of recent finds, either through importation of gas or importation of electricity generated from gas. Interconnectedness of our region cannot be taken for granted. We must invest in it. The free trade zone, which is the continent, can only be reality when countries respect one another and trade with one another. And therefore, intra-Africa trade must reflect the pronouncement about the free trade zone. Earlier this year, we announced hydrogen finds by Total and its partners in Mossel Bay Coast. We are confident that this find will spur further interest in the upstream potential of South Africa. And we are urging Total to move with the necessary speed to the stage of production. Ladies and gentlemen, the AU Agenda 2063 enjoins us as policymakers to ensure that Africa develops a working world-class energy infrastructure that connects all our countries. The endowment of Africa with oil and gas needs to be harnessed. The gas that is being discovered in our countries must not only be destined for export, but should also find its way to our power plants and other petrochemical facilities in the continent. This will ensure that we do not always import beneficiated hydrocarbons. The gas endowment must be translated to improved access to modern energy forms by consumers in this continent of ours, as envisaged in the Agenda 2063. The gas should also be able to attract investment in economic activity, including manufacturing, which in turn creates necessary jobs. We are mindful, however, of the need to earn foreign currency from the export of oil and gas. Therefore, the necessity for a balance cannot be emphasized more. Balance, don't export everything, develop the continent, industrialize the country, export part, and foreign currency, but the balance is of essence. We have taken note of the global industry shift. We are encouraged that many African countries have set themselves the vision to enter the global gas market and to promote the development of domestic and regional gas market. Natural gas can improve efficiencies on many industries that currently use suboptimal fuel sources in their production processes. This will lead to turnaround in the industrial capacity and demand in the region. On liquid fuels, it is an anomaly that we continue to import large quantities of diesel and petrol when so many of our countries are endowed with oil. Importation of refined products drains foreign currency reserves, and in many of our countries, further revenues obtained from proceeds of exploration are used to purchase petroleum products. A collaborative approach is necessary to turn this around. We need to attract investment in refining hubs towards the continent. In Sub-Sahara, we are aware of the large refinery complex that is being built in Nigeria. We should welcome that. In South Africa, we are working closely with Saudi Aramco to conclude the feasibility study into a crude oil refinery and associated petrochemical plants. That is the Richards Bay plant. And the purpose for that is that Africa must catch up. We are lagging behind. We have all the opportunities to catch up and grow and be among the fastest growing regions in the continent. Program Director, the challenge that faces us in this conference is to respond, among other things, to the following. One, taking concrete steps towards energy collaboration as African countries and with our other international partners. So, as we are here, 3 ministers are here, other countries send senior officials. We should spend that time talking to one another, connect to one another, complement one another, rather than competing to one another. Because when we compete, we get engaged in the race to the bottom, where we make concessions that are not necessary because we want to attract the investment from one country to ours and so forth. And I can tell you with experience that economy is not a beauty contest. It is about pragmatism, doing things work, collaborating with others, complementing each other, and we grow faster. Secondly, we must facilitate collaborative partnership that propel the agenda of Africa's ongoing development to another level. We must leverage natural endowment with these oil and gas resources in such a manner that the main objective of affordable access to energy for economic development and prosperity is achieved. I would like to conclude by wishing you pleasant stay in Cape Town. I trust that you will find time to experience the warmth and hospitality of our people. So don't be afraid. There are no dogs that will be unleashed on you. Feel free, move freely in Cape Town, interact, enjoy the warmth of our people. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much indeed, Honourable Minister. Before our next speech, we'd just like to take a moment to pay tribute and appreciate the life and work of the late Honourable Deputy Minister Bavalile, who passed away around a month ago. Condolences to her colleagues for her tragic passing. Moving on, our final keynote speech before we get into our panel discussions is coming from Mr. Boulakras Shaher, CEO of Sonelgas from Algeria. This is the national utility for gas and electricity of Algeria. There will be English translations available for the VIP tables at the front. And the translation in English is also available on our website, I think, around now. So over to you, sir.
Excellences, Messieurs les ministres, Mesdames et Messieurs, bonjour. Je voudrais tout d'abord remercier les organisateurs pour cette conférence, ainsi que pour l'invitation. Je me réjouis de me retrouver dans cette magnifique ville du Cape Town et d'intervenir dans cette session dédiée à la croissance énergétique, un thème que je considère à mes yeux très important. Et je me réjouis également autant parce que je m'adresse également à une audience prestigieuse composée de managers d'envergure, de hauts responsables gouvernementaux et d'éminents chercheurs, afin de discuter des industries énergétiques et de leurs répercussions socio-économiques, notamment pour un continent tel que l'Afrique. C'est pour moi une occasion d'écouter vos points de vue et de connaître la lecture que vous faites des différentes croissances ou des différentes croissances énergétiques, mais aussi de vous faire brièvement de l'évolution du secteur énergétique de mon pays ainsi que ses potentialités. Mesdames et Messieurs, notre continent si riche renferme des potentialités abondantes énergétiques. Ces ressources pétrolières et gazières seront essentielles pour répondre à une demande mondiale croissante, d'autant plus que les combustibles fossiles resteront prédominants dans l'approvisionnement énergétique mondial et couvriront la demande en énergie primaire dans les 20 prochaines années. L'Afrique continuera donc à jouer un rôle important dans l'approvisionnement mondial en énergie fossile. Pour les pays africains, exportateurs d'hydrocarbures, les ressources énergétiques occupent une place prépondérante dans leur développement socio-économique, vu qu'ils constituent leur principale source de devises. Les fortes incertitudes sur les marchés pétroliers et la baisse des prix d'hydrocarbures expliquent pourquoi ces pays, dont l'Algérie, font face à des difficultés accentuées par la forte évolution de la demande interne, qui est elle-même tirée par l'accroissement rapide des populations. Des études montrent qu'à long terme, à l'horizon